Hi, Vincent Hall, and welcome to another episode of our featured artist series. Today, we're going to get a chance to hear more about the art and life experiences of one of our true Renaissance women in the Art Center, Mrs. Turkan Gardenier, better known as Terry to everyone around her. Terry's going to share with you her journey into art and some of her wonderful career opportunities and accomplishments that really boggle my mind, and I'm sure you'll enjoy hearing about them too. So without further wait, Mrs. Turkan Gardenier. First, I'd like to thank you, Terry, for agreeing to be our featured artist of the week. I know everyone's going to look forward to hearing about your many varied activities that you've participated in through your life and all of your interests. I'm excited to hear more. So I thought we could start with a little about Terry.
Okay, thank you, Mel. I remember 50 years ago in 1970 when I walked into a small art supply store in Long Island, New York, and I bought 4 contrasting colors, color tubes of acrylics, 3 palette knives, and lots of canvases. Now, I was at Brookhaven National Laboratory, Atomic Energy Commission, and I had been invited from Turkey to give some seminars in advanced statistics and operations research to their physicists and chemists that were on the staff. Now, why was I invited? Well, because I was the chairman of the first industrial engineering department that was founded in Turkey.
Oh.
And the way that happened was that about a decade before, I had made another trip to Vassar College to go to college when I graduated as valedictorian of the American Academy at age 17. Now, Vassar was wonderful, but then I wanted to go to graduate school. I went to Columbia University and got my PhD. At that time, I was looking for jobs, and I found out that they were very interested at Middle East Technical University in the engineering department to hire me for an option that had existed in industrial engineering. And they had 2 courses for me to teach. One was advanced statistics, which I knew a lot about, but the other one was operations research. That was a new field. But when I looked at some of the textbooks in operations research, I found that it was really applied statistics to scheduling, to assembly, to management. And I said, well, I would like this job because I learned about operations research while I set up a department. So I became chairman of the department. I started a master's degree program, and it was a novelty then because I was very young and a woman. So Brookhaven heard about it and invited me, and they offered to type up my weekly seminars in advanced statistics and operations research, and we were distributing them among scientists. Now, the word got around to Maritime College, which was the State University of New York Merchant Marine Academy, who was starting a first transportation management department in the United States. And they were very interested in the seminar notes that were available because we had a wonderful typist and she wrote up all my diagrams and graphics. So I said, all right, I'll take this job. I went there and I was having fun teaching from my own lecture notes. At that same time, John, my husband, we were not married then, but he was working for the US headquarters in Washington, D.C., but he was running some simulation experiments on their first simulator for training pilots in the National Merchant Marine Academy at Kings Point, New York. So when we met, we had a wonderful time talking to each other about common interests, but he also told me that he was very recently widowed and kind of gave me an idea and it gave him an idea. And then he drove me to the train station and invited me to Washington. So we had a wonderful year together, so to speak, commuting from Washington to New York. And then we got married a year later, and our honeymoon started at the simulator at Kings Point Academy before we did the Mediterranean cruise. So that's how it all started. And we've had a wonderful 43, 44 years raising our two children. One is a physical chemist. He got his PhD in physical chemistry from Yale, and he's working with water quality, water security in Washington, D.C. The other one became a surgeon and is now specializing in advanced work in plastic and reconstructive surgery at Harvard. Now, I'm getting away from art, so we'll go back to my acrylics. Acrylics in 1970 was a very new medium. And since I had only palette knives, I was experimenting with it. And I got wonderful texture effects. And from my background, we always give presents to friends and relatives from something that we made. So I'd draw something, I'd paint something, and I'd give them away. I had very few kept for myself. So my favorite scenes were a little cottage with a red roof, a country road that led to it, and trees during different seasons. And I gave them, distributed them among friends, among relatives, and I gave some to my parents. Well, in 1995, after my father had done, my mother was gone. My mother passed away, and I found out that my parents had kept everything that I had given them and appreciated them and treasured them. So I said, my goodness, that's wonderful. So I took some of them and framed them. I made postcards from some of the pictures with a poem in the back, and I started distributing them with a first-class stamp saying, send these in memory of my parents to anybody that you know, because they preserved my art. So that was 1995. Well, many years later, in 2015, the Willow Oak building was built, and my husband, being a retired commander in the Navy, as well as having worked for the Coast Guard, we were entitled to move in. At that time, I heard about the art center, walked in, saw you teaching, and I said, I want to take the drawing class, because Wednesday afternoons I didn't have any schedules. And I learned a lot in the drawing class. I'm still learning a lot in the drawing class. I learned about texture effects. I learned about shading. And then I said, well, I see some vibrant colors in the painting class. So I registered for the painting class as well. So now I'm in both classes and I have lots of fun with it. I admire your styles that you're teaching us. I admire your bringing us books for us to read, to get ideas from. And I also admire the fact that sometimes you use household tools, like a toothbrush and the hair dryer. And I have lots of fun with different media and different types of styles of art that we do.
Aww.
Now, during COVID-19, what else did I do? I took some samples of my art and I blended it with some of my writings over many years that I have saved. So I made a little booklet, and with some of my art as fillers and some of the formulas that I used as primary text. And here I show them to family and friends, and here's a sample from Number Dimensions. And a little sunset screen in the back, and then there are some formulas in the top. And what do? They give us ways to understand if something is changing over time. For example, in the data that we have collected, is there a step change, an immediate change to a higher level? or is there a slope change? Is something rising in terms of danger? So we have to intervene and take precautions so that they don't lead to health hazards. Or is what we're seeing really random variation? So that is how I partition time series data into different reason-oriented components. So with 50 years of experience with numbers, and now with exposure to actual instructional art, I'm having a wonderful time, and my husband is also enrolled in the photography class, and he'll speak to us about his photography experiences. But I would like to thank Vincent Hall and thank Mel for everything that you have done for us in terms of our retirement.
Oh, well, I know we all enjoy having you down in the art center, Terry. You're an integral part of the art community. So I thought maybe we could look at some of your art that you wanted to share with us, and you can tell us more about it.
Sure. This one is a little duck, and I copied it from a print that the charity sent to us. The name was Ducks Unlimited. But the good part, or the unique part about this work, is that it is put on cardboard. Around holiday time, you came in and said, we have a lot of extra cardboard. We'll use this as a background. And so I drew the picture of the duck. He's a jolly good fellow, and he's plump. But I always add my own little additions to any picture. And you'll see some, at the bottom, some branches and some green and some yellow, which is repeated in the feathers of the duck. But the interesting thing about it, it is drawn on cardboard. We didn't use any fancier backgrounds.
Yeah, you can see a little of the cardboard texture in here, but that looks good. All right, how about this one?
Well, this one I called Riverside, and it did get a ribbon in one of the art shows. And we think Venice is the only place where we see canals with actual houses around them. But my father was born in old Yugoslavia, and he used to talk about his experiences as a child with houses being on the roads of the Vardar River. So when I saw an example from some of the samples that you're passing out to us, I decided to draw the houses around the Vardar River. And what you said to me one time was that what I did with the ripples in the water was rather different from anything that.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Wait, this one?
Oh, this one was a holiday ornament. And you wanted us to draw the inside and the shading in the holiday ornament. I really couldn't do it. And so I changed it to a slightly Art Deco type of work. I added some circles, I added some dots, I added some waves and triangles. And when you looked at it, you said, oh, that's interesting, because it's really reminded you of application of Art Deco.
Oh, yes, it's abstract for sure. We got this one.
Well, this one was my jump from drawing to painting. And I was so interested in bright colors after using only black or white or shades that I took off and I made a bright blue seaside or water, and some stars on the dark blue sky, and the shore had a little red along with the brown. And here's an example of my trees that appear in almost anything that I do, branches and trees. And this one got a ribbon too.
Oh, yes, okay. Got this.
Oh, this is where waves meet the shore. And it is a replica of of a painting that you showed us, and I really enjoyed the effect of the clouds and the effects of the waves,
Mm.
and uh, this was also one in which I used a paintbrush that looked like a rake to get some effects in the water. And this is an example of the types of brushes that you can do, that you can have. Our older son liked it very much, so he got it as a birthday present, and he has it in his living room. It
Oh,
had a nice frame on it, too.
that's nice. That's nice. Let's try this one.
Oh, this is an example of a still life in a drawing class. It has mugs, and what was interesting for me in drawing it was not only the smooth effects of the lines, but also when I was using the blending tool in the art class, somehow I got light blue and light gray, and I thought that was an interesting effect, and I capitalized on it in the picture.
Oh, okay.
I didn't actually use the color blue. It just came on when I was using blending.
Oh, that's serendipity.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. We've got this one.
Oh, this one actually is the cover of the little booklet I was telling you about called Numbered Dimensions. And the date is there, and it was 2020. I had a lot of the initial enclosures in it, but in the cover, um, I wanted to capitalize on the environmental orientation in some of the writings. And you'll see some trees that are all black, and there's a red background. Maybe it's a forest fire, post-forest fire scene. But also in the back, there's also happy clouds. So I use it as a cover, as a book cover for the pamphlet.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Here's this one.
Oh, this is actually the first thing I did in the art class. And it is not as sophisticated as some of the other effects that I had used before, but it was initially selected for being in one of the first calendars that uh, uh, we uh, produced at the Art Center. And there's the spring flowers and a little grass and
Hmm.
yellow combination of yellow and blue. But this is one of my first works that I
Oh,
made.
it's very vibrant. I like the vibe. I like how vibrant it is.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I enjoy branches, as you know,
Yeah.
a lot of branches and movement.
Oh, yes. Okay, we have this
Well, this one is a little cottage, and it was in the drawing class again, using only black and white and gray. But I think I took only 10 or 15 minutes to draw it. But in our first art show, a lot of people were looking at it, and they said, "Did you use rulers?" And I said, "No, I didn't use anything. I just drew it."
one. All right. We have this one.
Oh, here is the cardinal. Actually, you taught us how to draw a cardinal. First, we drew a circle for the head, then we drew an oval for the body, and then we dressed it up with different colors. And this cardinal looked more confident and dominant
Mm.
than what I copied from. And the last thing that I put on it was the beak and the eyes, but
Mm.
it looked as my confident cardinal.
Yes. We have this one.
Oh, this has a story behind it. When I sketched this as the staircase, which looked like one that we had in the house where I grew up, uh, I was so proud of my sketching, but that night, Vincent Hall closed for the coronavirus. And
Mm.
I was thinking to myself, what happened to my sketching? Am I going to be able to find it? But you are so so coordinated and so careful with all our work that you had it on my desk when the art center opened. So you found it for me, and then we were looking for the book, and I said it's an oblong book, and you found the book too. So when I was copying it and drawing it, I had the colors right. But
Hmm.
we did have a house where the entrance door had a knob like in here. It had glass and also separations. It did have a chair at the bottom of the staircase. And I remember trying to go up those stairs. First, trying to hold on to both rails, then to one rail, then go on one step at a time. Then actually, I was able to go on alternating steps confidently. So it
Oh,
brings back memories.
good memory. This is recent.
Oh, this one again is the style comes from dabbing. No water on the brush, and different colors look being shown on different parts of the flower. You'll see no petal outlines. It is just by different colors being dabbed onto different areas of what you're drawing. And you indicated when you saw it, oh, it looks as if it's going to fly off toward the right, and so there's a little bit of motion.
I like
But
the.
thank you. And this was, I think, in the during the last month that I made this.
Yes, it's been recent. And speaking of recent, here's the latest one.
Oh, this is, yeah, I actually finished this yesterday afternoon, and you said, I'll show this as your last example in the interview. And the assignment was to get shading effects, shadows. And I tried awfully hard to get the shadows, but I also think that the perspective was so nice in the picture in terms of a kind of a European scene, in terms of being able to see the tops of um, the chimneys, and also another house in front of it with its own elevation, and the many hills and valleys that you see in Europe.
Hmm. I love the colors too, the orange and then the more neutral tones in the front.
That's right, the yellow, and then I added some green as a contrast. But thank you for getting us into all these different types of activities and also different types of styles.
Of course. So thank you
And
so much, Terry, for sharing that artwork. I was wondering if there were any final thoughts you'd like to share.
actually, there is. This is a poem about by Granville, and it is called Rhyme and Verse to Help Make a Point. And the point I'd like to make is that wherever you're working, whatever you're doing, if you introduce joy into it, it enlightens your whole attitude and the products that you're going to be producing. And you're an example of that.
Oh,
When you start teaching, you're so involved in the joy of teaching us things that we appreciate it. And my husband and I have worked now in our own fields, operations, research, and statistics, for over 50 years, but we never looked at it as a job, as a boring job. And we were very blessed to be to become a fellows of the American Association for Advancement of Science over the past few years. And then Marquis Who's Who invited us to be nominees for the Albert Nelson Prize for Lifetime Achievement, and both of us got in as Lifetime Achievers in the biographies, collection of biographies, in Who's Who in America, Who's Who in the World, Who's in Science and Engineering. And but we didn't do it in order to get the recognition. We were just having fun with it. And this poem exemplifies. This is a picture of the two of us
oh,
and the poem next to it, and I'll read it to you. It says, how joyously they worked in mosaic and marble, silver and gold, in the rich brown of a tree, in ivory, leather and copper and glass, those craftsmen of old. Today, the mind of man has 1,000 arms ready to do his bidding. Fingers of steel follow the delicate blueprint of a dream, print, rivet, stitch a seam. By their own wonder, they make new wonders real.
Mm.
But still, the hand that guides the sleep machine, the power saw, the drill press, or above the earth's receding curves pilots a plane, is still the hand that serves, and work can still be done with joy.
Oh,
Thank you, ma'am. Thank
wow.
you, Ms. for giving us all this opportunity to express ourselves.
Oh, that was wonderful. I love that poem, Terry. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you very much. I enjoy every Wednesday when I come to class.
We do too. Well, thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Terry, for sharing that wonderful story and that poem at the end. Truly inspirational, and I'm sure everyone enjoyed it. I hope you all enjoy seeing Terry's artwork again in the slideshow that follows. And maybe you can take a little cue from Terry and try something new. She took a chance on the Art Center a few years ago and has become one of our valued integral parts of the whole art community, and is now a threefer where she's doing art, drawing, painting, and photography. So come on down and see what she's doing and maybe take a chance at it yourself. In any event, have a nice rest of your week, Vincent Hall, and I look forward to seeing you soon.